This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Little throwback Thursday today, folks, and we're throwing it back to Monday when Colin Cowherd wasn't here. He's out today, but we're talking NBA playoffs anyway. Whitlock doesn't feel that the number 2 seed will be a problem for the Cavs, and things will be okay for LeBron to get back to the finals for the 7th year in a row. The always dapper Jim Jackson, former NBA player, joins the show, breaks down the biggest challenge for the Cavs, says it's internally. And Jackson reminds a lot of folks that LeBron is having one of his best statistical seasons ever. So when you got Oscar Robertson and Michael Jordan both endorsing Russell Westbrook for MVP, it's pretty obvious the media is going to jump on the Westbrook bandwagon. Folks, you know where I stand. I'm still on James Harden. Marshawn Lynch is going to be traded to the Raiders, and it's a stunt, according to FS1 NFL analyst Greg Jennings. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's 60-point game, and Christine Leahy has a passionate discussion with Chris Broussard over Kobe's 60-point finale. Plus, I make the argument that Steph Curry does not need to be the Warriors' best player for their playoff run to end with a title. Ready for Speak For Yourself? Take it away, Whitlock.
Hello and welcome. Cowherd is out today, and his co-host, Christine Leahy, is filling in for him. We're joined also by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard and former NBA All-Star Jim Jackson. Let's start with the Cavs. Did I get that right, Jim? You did make an All-Star team.
In my mind, I did.
All right, let's start with the Cavs.
Should have been for sure.
Who rested LeBron again last night and lost to Toronto, making that 4 straight losses to end the regular season. Cleveland is now locked into the 2 seed and will face the Pacers. And Coach Ty Lue addressed the Cavs' competition in the East after the game.
I think the East has gotten better. You know, Toronto's gotten better. Boston's gotten better. You know, Indiana's playing good basketball. The Bulls finally figured out what they're going to do and who they're going to be. Same thing with Milwaukee. So teams have gotten better, and that's just the biggest difference to me. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be a bigger challenge for us this year.
All right, listen. I don't think the 2 seed matters that much. I do think bad road record, bad finish to the season, a team that all year didn't care about the regular season. You have to prepare to win a championship. I don't think the Cavs have done the proper preparation. I think there could be signs of trouble in the Eastern Conference playoffs, and then I think they'll be in big trouble in the NBA Finals, if they make it.
A lot of times when someone or some company gets really powerful, like the Cavs, I will say, have done, they try to look for as many different things that they can get away with. And I think what we've seen all season with the Cavs is the not playing, the resting, the saying the regular season doesn't matter, the partying before going out, the lack of chemistry with different teammates. They just let go of a guy, cut a guy because he didn't make the team bus. Meanwhile, why didn't you just get on LeBron's private jet? That was an option, right? So there's just too many issues that I think we've seen with the Cavs. And would I be surprised if they make the finals? No, absolutely not. But I think it's going to catch up to them eventually.
That was a good Cowherd analogy you used, too. About the
Rubs off.
But look, what Ty Lue wanted to say is the East has gotten better. And we've gotten worse, you know, because that's the fact of the matter. But, like, I think the Cavs, this is my opinion. I know you've talked to people there who are like, we're not worried. I've talked to some people who said the same thing there. But I think, and honestly, they're as curious as the rest of us. I think this not playing LeBron and some of their guys toward the end of the last week or two was like surrender. Like, look, we tried the last 2-3 weeks. We tried to turn it around, and we can't. So they're hoping, they're waiting just like the rest of us to see what happens when the playoffs start. Do we ignite a fire and start playing like we think we can, or is this now who we are? I think they're wondering too.
Well, here's the thing too. Keep in mind that the biggest challenge to me with this Cavs team is internally. I think that the first series against Indiana, can they get back true to form, not offensively, but defensively? Washington poses a problem because they got 3 scores that can go at you. Toronto does. So maybe their second-round series will be their toughest. I don't think Boston presents the same challenge. Let's say Boston gets to the final, Cleveland gets to the final. They don't provide the same challenges that face them if they play Toronto or Washington. But internally, this Cavs team is fighting the demons of complacency because they've won. And because you got the best player still in the universe on your team, you think you can turn it around. The job for Ty Lue is to be able to switch that mindset. And the only way you do it is to, I think, go back to playing the kind of defense you did at the beginning of the season against Indiana. You need a good 4 or 5 games to really drill that home.
Let me throw this out. We went into this year thinking the Warriors were going to be the villains and the team that everybody wanted to see fall on their face. I think because of the way the Cavs handled this regular season, I think they're now the team that everybody, including guys in the league, particularly executives and management in the league, they want to see this fail and fail miserably. They don't want a player-centric league where a guy like LeBron James is running a team. Pat Riley, the Miami Heat don't make the playoffs. He's got to be saying all kinds of prayers and got a LeBron voodoo doll hoping this blows up.
Not only is LeBron running that team, and I think it's interesting that you say that Ty Lue has to get them back together when we all know that's LeBron. Ty Lue can't do anything without LeBron signing off on it.
But Ty gotta,
he gonna have to try. If you're gonna go out
No,
swinging.
for sure. But I will also say this. I think LeBron, his focus has not been 100% on basketball this year. He has been talking about everything and putting the league on his back. He's like the spokesperson now for cutting the season down. I don't think his focus is
Well, here's the thing, though. But he's having statistically his best season. So a guy like LeBron, he's able to manipulate, compartmentalize things and still handle his business on the basketball court. A lot of guys can't do that.
You like that about a guy?
Well, I do, because here's the thing. Again, with him, his biggest challenge is him, honestly. I mean, he's proven everything, but yet and still, he's put up statistically across the board his best season at 14 years in the league.
Here's the challenge for them, though, that's not mental. Defensively, they're not the same. Not just the numbers and not just that they're bored. LeBron is not the defender he used to be, which is understandable in your 14th year. They are an old and a slow team. So they have to be on a string defensively. As a team, their execution has to be perfect because they don't have those great individual defenders that can just get it done. And I think with the injuries, with new faces on the team, that's why they don't have the chemistry defensively. And I think that's a real problem for them.
Earlier this week, Caron Butler, I believe, said, the problem is Kyrie and LeBron can flip a switch. What about the other guys? I think that's what we're all going to be waiting to see. All right, to Russell Westbrook, who closed out his triple-double season with 2 big endorsements for MVP. None other than Michael Jordan told our friend Chris Broussard that Westbrook was his MVP, and Oscar Robertson was actually in OKC to honor the Thunder star.
I think that what he has done has been historic in nature. He's played with passion and pride, and it's outstanding what he's done, the way he did it. You people should really be proud of him for his accomplishments. And I say congratulations again. I only have one more thing to say. MVP!
He's so right.
I think Michael Jordan, obviously, Westbrook's part of the Jordan brand, but they just respect the way he went about this season. I think Big O, he respects the way he went about this season. I think it's a wrap. You get an endorsement from Oscar Robertson and Michael Jordan as you go to the voting booth on Friday and others go to the voting booth on Friday. You going to defy Jordan and the Big O?
2 things. One, can we look at that statue that Westbrook was holding there? What is that? It was like a guy sitting on a bench with 3 kids behind him on a park bench. I don't know if that's what you get.
Statue or trophy you get.
Okay.
But he's sitting down. That means
I'll take it.
That is what is?
And also, Chris, you're going to vote tomorrow. If you don't vote for Russell Westbrook, which I think you are, it is a shame. For all these, he did something historic. He's averaging a triple-double. He passed up Oscar Robertson. You heard Robertson himself say he should win MVP. And I know there are the people out there that say we're only talking about him because he has this triple-double. Fine, take the rebounds out of it.
Good reason.
30 and 10. Like, that's still extremely impressive. And ultimately, to me, the definition is most valuable player to your team. So if you want to take him out of that roster, they're not making the playoffs.
I voted. You send your ballots in. I sent mine in Tuesday night. I did vote for Russell Westbrook. The question was, does this make him a lock? I think he'll win it, but I don't think the endorsements of MJ and Oscar will make him a lock because remember, the media votes. Right. And a lot of the media are these analytics-driven reporters. And they look at Michael and Oscar as old school guys who don't understand today's NBA.
Yeah.
They don't look at the analytics statistics. They look at MJ and they say, he drafted Kwame Brown. He drafted Adam Morrison in the lottery. Honestly, this is going to sound nuts, and it is nuts, all right? Because I'm with MJ and Oscar. But a lot of these guys, it would mean more to some of these writers if Daryl Morey or Sam Hinkie came out and said, with the analytics said Russell's the MVP more so than MJ and Oscar.
You guys can't make decisions for yourselves. You need to listen to everyone else.
I'm saying, look, I was voting for Russ no matter what. Okay. MJ and Oscar, Shaq told me he was voting for Russ as well. That just bolstered my view. But I'm telling you, some of these analytics writers, that's how they
see. I get it. I was on the Harden bandwagon too, but then I started to look at the history of it. But the bigger picture storyline coming into the season was OKC. Durant going to Golden State, the competition between the two. Now, when Durant left, not only did you lose the second-best player in NBA, but you took eyes off the TV screen that were going to tune in and watch OKC. What was the big thing? Tune in to Russell, must-see TV, must-see. They made this thing bigger because of that. This is a historical moment. I don't think they're going to let this pass a little bit because of that influence on what he was able to bring to the table. That's why I think not only on the court, but off the court from a history perspective is why
you're making a hell of a point, because when we look back at this season, the only thing we'll talk about, Russell Westbrook and players resting and sitting out.
You're right.
And on that point, I want to also say he's missed one game, so he's valuable to his team in the fact that you know he's going to show up.
And look at how many assists he lost with Kevin Durant. You know, he's getting 10 a game with Victor Oladipo and Enes Kanter and Steven Adams.
He averaged 10 last year, but it was with, 4 or 5 of those was going to KD.
Exactly.
So now this year, he was able to up the ante and not having, to me, knockdown shooters on the perimeter to still be able to get 10 assists. I mean, that says a lot about him setting his guys up for success.
Chris, I like the point you made about the little cultural war, players versus the analytics guys. And it's fascinating to me, the media is kind of anti-players because the players across the board love Russell Westbrook, respect what he's done, and the analytics crowd kind of like, it's nice.
Yeah.
But there's Kawhi Leonard or whomever.
Jimmy, you know, this is a battle within the league. Former players who want to get into the front office are being overlooked by guys who didn't even play in high school, you know, but they know the analytics. And I've been told by scouts and people that are in those war rooms, you can make the analytics say anything. Not that they don't have a place. They do have a place, but you can't go by them solely because you can make them say all types of things.
One thing, I'm going to say this about analytics, and you, as a player, the numbers may fit, these guys' numbers may bolster what the team does, but one thing analytics can't tell you is how guys genuinely will play together and get along and be able to coordinate their offense and defensive skills on a team and play together. The human element, analytics can't predict that, and that's where a lot of teams have gone wrong in just looking at numbers.
Chris, who is the superstar? I know Daryl Morey is, but who's the guy that they point to? He's won championships. This organization's won championships because they are a slave to analytics.
I mean, Daryl Morey is the poster guy, you know. But as far as championships, none of these guys have won championships. And if Daryl Morey were to luck up and win a championship this year, James Harden wasn't about analytics. Anybody would have taken James Harden.
Warriors, Bob Myers,
but D'Antoni has a lot to do with why Houston is where, because of his system. He did it in Phoenix. So analytics, yes, but you got the right system that D'Antoni brought into the fold that really helped, I think, bolster what Houston and the attributes they were able to have. Look at Eric Gordon. That has a lot to do with Mike D'Antoni's system. I played it.
All right, welcome back. Christine Leahy and I are now joined by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings and Super Bowl champ Eric Davis. Let's move to Oakland, where reportedly the Raiders are expected to work out a trade with the Seahawks for running back Marshawn Lynch. The Raiders aren't exactly popular with their fans right now, and Lynch is a beloved Oakland native who's been out of the league for a year, prompting Bay Area columnist Marcus Thompson to wonder if this would just be a PR stunt. I don't remotely see this as a PR stunt. I want to show you guys something, what Marshawn Lynch was dealing with his last year in Seattle. Seattle's got a bad offensive line, the third worst offensive line in football. This guy's going to Oakland, and last year Oakland had the fourth best offensive line in football, according to Pro Football Focus. Marshawn Lynch behind this offensive line is going to be 1,300 to 1,500 yards. Even sitting out last year, since he entered the league, he's got the most touchdowns in the league, even sitting out last year. Marshawn Lynch is going to be a real problem for the AFC.
Well, if this was a PR stunt, it would be the worst possible PR stunt, especially after what happened earlier this week when you go outside of LAX and Marshawn Lynch is spitting on an 18-year-old boy and smashing his phone. And this is right after we heard a couple years ago he had an incident with a 13-year-old kid. So he's not exactly what I would say a PR dream. He's more of a PR nightmare. Yeah. That said, I don't think that this is something that's smart that the Raiders should do either.
It's actually a PR benefit to the team, but I don't think it's a PR stunt. You touched on the fact that they'll be a better running the ball if you get Marshawn Lynch. They, right now, have a quarterback, they have receivers, they have all of these things that can get them in position to get it done. And by committee, they were committed to the run enough, the yards per carry, enough carries in a game to keep them around. So it's only going to be a benefit in that aspect of it. But there are three things that you have to think about in this. You got to think about Mark Davis, Reggie McKenzie, and the fans of Oakland, if you're talking about a PR issue. All three, I know all three of them. Living in the Bay Area, I played with Reggie McKenzie, the GM of that team. I know Mark Davis personally. All three and the fans up there, they're too smart to view this as just a PR move. They know what's going on.
Yeah, I think they're too smart, but I think they're smart enough to know that the fans are unhappy with the team moving in a couple years. So why not distract them with something? I'm not saying it's a PR stunt, because, and this is why I say it's not a PR stunt, but they definitely are playing on that. This is a guy, grew up in the streets of Oakland, loved the Raiders, went to Cal. He's a West Coast guy. He's here all the time. He's watched this team his entire life. So it's an opportunity for him. It's intriguing not only to him, but also now for the Raiders. And then what he provides, I haven't even mentioned what he can do on the football field. So to your point, yes, offensive line played a huge role in Seattle. They have a great offensive line, but I think even more than that, they have an actual chance of winning. They have a viable chance of really competing at the highest level and winning for a championship.
Yeah, and you know what? But he's coming back to a team. He wants to play for a team where he doesn't get beaten up. He took a year off his body, and that's going to help him tremendously because he runs angry.
Free to do anything he wanted during that year away from football. Whatever help he needed to get his body together, he could get.
But, Greg, you talk from the player perspective. He doesn't enjoy the grind. Does he really want to go back and go through that again?
I don't think. Here's the thing. When you look at a position in this league that can really take a year off and come back, I mean, no one wants to do it, but as a receiver, it's tough. As a quarterback, it's tough. Any position is tough. But if there's one, all he has to do is get the ball in his hands.
You're not telling her the truth about it, though. You did it. You were a veteran player. He's not going to have to go through the grind.
No.
He's not going to get hit during the week. He's not going to have to practice all the time. He's going to be able to come in, and he's going to get his touches on Sunday. He's not going to get beaten up. He knows what he's going to.
And Oakland knows what they're getting. Like, they're not naive to what they saw in Buffalo, to what they saw in Seattle. They know what they're getting themselves into. So you can't bring a guy in like this and then now concern yourself with what we saw in that clip at the airport.
I think we're going to see a Marshawn Lynch that's potentially better than what he was in Seattle in his prime. This quarterback, potentially, in terms of throwing the ball downfield and keeping the safeties honest, a little bit better than Russell Wilson. This offensive line, I think, without question, better than anything he had in Seattle. Marshawn Lynch could be a real problem. Jason Whitlock, Christine Leahy, joined again by Chris Broussard and Jim Jackson. Let's move to the Lakers. It has now been 1 year since the world went crazy over Kobe Bryant's final game in which he dropped 60 points on 50 shots. Most people celebrated the performance at the time, but not me. As you just heard back then, I called it, among other things, narcissistic, selfish, and an embarrassment.
What were some of those other things against Jason?
I didn't even know you could say those things.
I was there that day,
Yes,
the day
you
that
were.
you became a wolf.
Oh,
I was here
and
too.
look, again, it was a masturbation that we called one of the greatest sex scenes ever. The guy pleasured himself on his final game in the NBA. He's got quotes out today pretending like, oh, it just happened organically. The guys kept passing me the ball. It was predetermined and decided before they ever hit the court. Kobe was going to be Kobe, and Kobe was going to put up as many points as he could. It didn't matter how many shots he put up. How could you play in the league that long, have that kind of career? It's about the other players in that young team. The entire last season was all about Kobe Bryant and sabotaging the Lakers. I stand by every damn thing I said.
Can we get a howl just for fun? Now, Jason, I actually think it was perfect.
It was a great day. We bonded that day.
No, I'm saying Kobe, we did. No, Kobe's performance, I think it was perfect.
Really?
It was perfectly fitting, a fitting way to sum up the end of his career, because that entire last season, he put the Lakers in a terrible position for the future, which they're still paying for. He took away from the other players' confidence, didn't show up to games. Every single ticket in that ticket book that year had Kobe's face on it, and I never got to see Kobe when I would go there, except for, when he was on Jimmy Kimmel telling the players that they shouldn't be cheering in the locker room after they beat the Celtics.
Was he wrong about that? Should they be cheering in the locker room after a win like that?
You can't say anything unless you were there. If
He
you have a problem with how the locker room is being
earned the
run,
right.
go
He brought
be in
the Lakers.
locker room.
I don't care what he did his last season.
No.
He brought the Lakers 5 championships.
Shaq
He's
brought
one
3.
of the best Lakers in history.
And you know what? They
best
could have had
players in
more if
history.
he could have learned how to be
Really?
a better teammate.
When?
He could have
With
been.
Shaq? Okay,
Yeah.
the
Other
Shaq
players
era,
coming
him
to
and
join
Shaq.
him. No one wants to
They
play
won
with
as
him.
many
He calls
championships
them
as they.
Charmin toilet paper.
It wasn't his fault that Jim Buss gave him 2 years, $48.5 million.
That's right.
If you want to say somebody sabotaged the Lakers, say it was Jim Buss.
True.
If I'm Kobe Bryant, you offer me that, I couldn't have got
I'm
12
taking
or 11 anywhere else in the
But
league.
then, okay, fine, take it. But don't tell me that all you care about is championships anymore.
Why?
You can't have it both ways.
I care about
that
championships
by
and money.
No, but you
I
can't
mean,
have it
what's
both
wrong?
ways.
That's
Because
life.
you know that if you take that money, it is impossible for your
They
team to
weren't
win.
winning. I don't care what. Kobe could have taken
Fine,
the
but don't
mid-level
say that that's
exception,
when it
and they
matters.
weren't winning championships.
Be real. Just be real.
You said it. That last game was perfect. He's a volume shooter in his career, so he shot 50.
Exactly. He's not going to change that.
Exactly.
I was at the game. I played with Kobe. One thing I love about him that I got to see up close and personal is he took the challenge each and every game at practice to be his best. Even when he was hurt.
When he showed up.
No. When I played with him, it was 2006, okay? When he dedicated himself, I saw him go at people, take them out. So we're trying to encapsulize that one season over his whole career. No, you got to look at the work that he put in. He was unfairly judged at times because of Michael Jordan, but he did put himself in that situation in regards to wanting to be the best. But here's the thing. In that game against Utah didn't care because they were hoping that Houston would lose. It would give them an opportunity to be in the playoffs. Once Houston won the game, Utah, them guys were on their way to Cancun. That game was over. They were half-assing it on defense because they didn't care. So it was a perfect storm in regards to Kobe being Kobe and Utah, the players we're going to play D, but I'm not about to get hurt right before my summer is about to begin. I can be on the beach somewhere.
That's right.
My stomach just felt sick thinking about how the
You
rest...
don't like him.
Really,
But see, that's why. Whatever he would have done, Christine, you wouldn't have liked him anyway.
that's not true, actually.
What if
because-
If he had gone out and had a triple-double and
No.
shot 10 times, you
Hold
would have
on.
been happy?
I would have liked
Listen, when I came over to LA, I will admit I did not have the greatest preconceived notions of Kobe, but I actually started to gain a lot of respect for him for how hard he works, his ethics, his game, his business mind. I really did. And then I saw a series of things happen. I lost a lot of respect for him. And this is one of the big reasons why. And it made my stomach turn for those young players who they had Kobe on such a pedestal all year long, and he stunted the development, and they're supposed to just be happy to play alongside him.
No, they were happy that he was ready to leave,
sometimes
too.
when you're a competitor at that level, that happens. Michael Jordan,
he wasn't the best teammate all
hated
the
him
time.
in Washington when he left. I was there for that last week, that last game. Players who had grown up idolizing him were ready for him to go. He and Kobe are such competitors that they drive people crazy sometimes. And when they're carrying you to championships, it's all good. But when they're not, then you struggle. Now, didn't the Wolf predict Kobe was going to go to New York and play? Is the Wolf denying that? Let's hear it from the Wolf.
I don't have inside sources on this, so I don't want anyone to think
clearly.
This is my belief watching the guy.
Really, I thought you got that from Woj.
Kobe Bryant with the New York Knicks. Both of these guys will be apologizing.
Well, wait a minute. Did he sign his retirement papers? He might be able to come back.
Oh, stop.
You might not be wrong.
Not with the Knicks. I was wrong about that.
Good one, Chris.
I still wouldn't be shocked
if
he played next season.
What? Are you serious?
I wouldn't be shocked.
Where?
I don't know. Somewhere.
No way.
Somewhere.
It's done.
Ride LeBron's coattail to another championship in Cleveland, maybe. All right, welcome back. Christine Leahy and I are joined by Jim Jackson, and we're now joined by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre, to the team with the NBA's best record, Golden State. Kevin Durant finally found his stroke last night, dropping 29 in his best game since coming back from injury. But the Warriors saw a resurgent Steph Curry with Durant out, and Steve Kerr doesn't want Steph to slow down now that Durant is back, saying, quote, Steph needs to be more ball dominant. First couple of months, we didn't put him in enough pick and roll situations. He was probably trying to figure everything out. And then I think it all kind of sorted itself out around New Year, and that's when he got really aggressive, and it all started to click at that point. Jim, I tried to explain this to Jim the other day. Yeah. Jim was a great player, but I'm from Indiana. I know basketball.
Oh.
And so it's not really surprising that Steve Kerr agrees with me, Christine. Steph has to be the alpha dog, the lead dog on this team to reach its full potential. Steve Kerr and I are in agreement.
I'm guessing you're on the other side of that?
Well, he didn't say that. He said he needs to be more ball dominant. He didn't mean to shoot.
What does that mean to you, Jason?
Probably not as many turnovers as he had last season.
Well, no, but here's the thing. Again, I'm going to go back to this. He's only averaging 2 more points with Kevin Durant out the game. More ball dominant to me is Steph can make so many plays coming off the pick and roll that he wasn't able to do before. It's not about that with Steph. Steph got to have the ball in his hand. That doesn't mean he has to shoot more because he's going to be a threat no matter where he's at on the court. How are you going to you can't take everything away from Golden State. When Steph has the ball, he's going to attract defense. He can either pull up or he can make plays. If you really listen to that quote, what he's saying, he wants him to control the basketball in more situations. He didn't say shoot more. I don't need Steph to score more. I need him to be more dominant so now the defense has to respect him and he can make plays. Bam.
Okay, I'm going to bam, both of you.
Bring it back.
Because if we look at that quote, this has nothing to do with any of what you guys are saying. What he's doing is pumping up Steph Curry's confidence, and we've seen him do it before.
Need that. He doesn't need
it. He doesn't.
Two-time MVP.
He does. Please, you think that his shooting got so much better in KD's absence for no reason? And I can prove my point.
Okay.
I want to show you something that happened in March, a moment that was caught between Steve Kerr and Steph Curry on the bench. Here you go.
That's your shooting totals. That's your plus minus. All right, so it's not always tied together. You're doing great stuff out there. The tempo is so different when you're out there. Everything you generate for us is so positive. It shows up here, not always there, but it always shows up here. You're doing great.
Okay, wait. So why exactly would Steve Kerr be doing that unless he felt like Steph needed a little boost in confidence? And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone can use a little back
But that's
rub.
what coaches do. He got to him, but you see Steph's body language? Yeah. He's like, bro, I hear you, I got you, but I'm good.
I'm a two-time
but I'm good.
You really think the year before Kevin Durant can just leave them, that he's going to be saying that Steph's got to be the guy? That is very dangerous.
Let me answer the question. It says best player on the screen, guys. Best player, okay? Think back. Who was their best player in the biggest game of the year last year in OKC? Game 6, Klay Thompson, 41 points. Game 7 against the Cavs, who had 32, 15, and 9? Draymond Green. Steph doesn't need to be their best player. Kevin Durant and Draymond Green both are much better defenders than Steph Curry.
Exactly.
Right? Two-way players. Look, remember Game 7 last year? Steph got eaten up in the pick and roll with LeBron. It was ugly. Kevin Durant, Draymond Green.
Who was their best player? Who was the MVP when they won the championship? Was it Iguodala?
Not Steph Curry.
Was it Iguodala?
I love Steph.
But he set up everything else, though.
They just won 14 straight with him being ball dominant and the best player on the team. They finished the season 15-1. He's the two-time MVP. When he plays with a confidence and when he's the alpha dog, the team plays better.
Right, but Jason,
ball dominant, don't that mean alpha dog?
Do you think that end of the regular season is the same as the playoffs, where it's a half-court game, much more physical?
No, it's different. But Steve Kerr, when you hear Steve Kerr say ball dominant, how do you translate that?
I defer to Jim, the former NBA player. I've never been in the huddle.
He ain't a writer. What does ball dominant mean to you?
He said we need Steph to score more. Coaches are going to say that. He didn't say. He said more ball. He needs the ball to be in his hands to make decisions.
He was basically doing what
he needs him to make decisions.
This is the Speak for Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. For this podcast and all podcasts, make sure you check us out on iTunes and SoundCloud. We love it when you leave a review, comment, or leave a suggestion. Finally, we're doing an FS1 NBA playoff preview on Facebook Live Friday morning. It'll be Joy Taylor from Undisputed, myself, Chris Broussard, Jim Jackson. It's going to be hot. That'll be on Facebook Live tomorrow. Talk to you then.